turn on, tune in, and drop out.
Hey, what's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another checklist vlog. This week's checklist is going to be on the Haight and Ashbury district and some of the people that lived there that formed pop culture as we know it. All right, let's go check out some of these locations. So it is absolutely pouring here in San Francisco today, so we're going to be doing a little bit of a in-car tour slash running out in the rain to try and see some of the different locations in the Haight and Ashbury district. But we're going to try to get as much as we can in the rain. Hopefully it lightens up a bit later because we're going to head out to Alcatraz too. All right, let's go check out some of these locations. All right, you guys, so our first location on Haight Street is Jimi Hendrix's house. So our first location was the Jimi Hendrix house, and I know in an earlier video on this channel we went and checked out where Jimi Hendrix hung out and played guitar in Vancouver, but this location was absolute magic. There's a huge mural on the side of the building of Jimi Hendrix playing guitar, and it's just a glimpse into what it would have been like to be living in the Haight and Ashbury district in the 60s, especially with a huge talent like Jimi Hendrix. It's awesome to go there. If you go, you gotta go check this place out. Now, our next location is another huge music icon who unfortunately passed away at 27, just like Jimi Hendrix, and this is Janis Joplin's house right here. It's a super cool building that's painted a really awesome pink, and again, it's one of these locations that shows you that I think for me growing up, I only knew these people through their music and their interviews and videos of them. So for me, it almost felt like they weren't real. Then you go check out some of the homes of where they lived, and it really brings you to a spot where, wow, this person actually existed. They actually did these major things that we all know and love today. And I mean, there was a time before any Jimi Hendrix song. There was a time before any Janis Joplin song. And I think that really comes to mind when I'm in these locations. And I think it's so awesome that we have an opportunity to check them out. Now, our next location isn't so much of a music location. This is a bit of a darker turn. This house right here, this is where Charles Manson used to live in the 60s during the hippie movement, or flower power, or whatever you want to call it. Now, after Charles Manson got out of jail, he decided that he was going to come down to the Haight and Ashbury district. Now, I don't know for sure what his plans were while he was here, but for the most part, I believe that it was to recruit people to join his family. Now, this house, a ton of notorious people walked through that were all a part of the Manson family. Tex Watson, Patricia Krenwinkel, Susan Atkins, or Sadie as her nickname was, and Squeaky Fromme. Now, they all did move out to Spawn Ranch later on in the 60s, and that part of history we all know, but I'd like to make a separate video on that history, and I want to get out to Spawn Ranch, and I think that deserves its own video, and it's a pretty serious topic, so we'll get into that in another video. The reason for me I think this location is so wild is just because you hear the story. Most recently we heard it in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, even though some of the facts were twisted to fit the storyline of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but it's a story that we've heard so many times, sometimes it feels like it's not an actual part of history. And being in these locations and seeing the actual day-to-dayness of one of the most manipulative cult leaders in history, it's really haunting. I mean, I've always heard about this place, like Summer of Love and you know, the hippie flower power movement, but the really wild thing about coming out here and seeing it is just how close a lot of these places are to each other. I mean, like, Charles Manson was living a block from Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, and the Grateful Dead in the 60s. Like, how weird is that? I mean, if you get the chance to go to San Francisco, you have to check out the Haight and Ashbury district. It's absolutely wild. Not only does it have the cool shops like the tie-dye shop and a couple different vintage stores, stuff like that. Not only is it full of music history and other history, it's where pop culture was built in the 60s. This whole movement that happened, this subculture that was just concentrated in this area, created a whole movement and shocked the world and formed everything we know now. I mean, every little piece of history forms what we know today, and I think this was a huge stepping stone to get to where we are today and a lot of the things we see in pop culture now.
You want him to look like a hippie?